My family owned a fish and chip shop. I worked there as well as a couple others from my family. We employed a couple of outside staff too. The prep guy is a semi-retired chap who ran the peeler and chipper, spent most of his time out back in the prep home alone. Said a couple of times that through the frosted glass he'd seen someone moving around in the passage where the sacks of potatoes were stored. He'd go through and look, but there was no one there. He thought I was trying to play pranks on him, but I assured him I wasn't, as I hadn't. I was usually out front serving. He was worried then, so we got my brother to come in and help him and keep him company. A few days later, my brother said they both seen movement in the passage, but when they checked, no one was there. I thought they were winding me up, but looking at their serious faces, I knew they weren't. I could always tell if my brother was lying, and I knew he just wasn't. So a couple of months later, my mom was there on her own during lunchtime. She said she walked out of the kitchen and had a feeling like someone was right behind her. Looked around and saw the colored door curtain strips fly out like someone came through. Panicking, she went to the storeroom through another set of door strips, turned around backing up against the freezer. Sure enough, the door strips parted and swung out just the same. She never worked there again, flat out refused. One time my girlfriend came to help on a busy Saturday. I had been upstairs to the bathroom. As I started to descend the stairs, I felt someone push my back, and I slipped, and I slid, and ended up literally rolling down the stairs into the kitchen. My girlfriend was there. She said, "Are you alright? Did you miss a step?" I was a bit bruised and annoyed, said no. I hit every bloody one of them. I was working a Wednesday evening on my own. I had finished it. It had been quiet night. I had cleaned down, time to lock up. I left the back door of the kitchen into the prep room, locked that door. Out of the other prep room door into the passage with the potatoes in. Locked the second prep room door. Checked the end passage door was locked. Came back up and went from the passage to the storeroom and locked that door. No sooner did I turn away, a loud rapping was coming from the door I just locked. I quickly turned and could see through the glass panels. There was no one there, but the rapping continued. It was like someone was rapping on the glass with a coin, really hard and insistent. Tap, 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 tap. Just constant. I almost opened the door up, but my nerve went. I went and stood outside. I couldn't even leave. I was waiting for my dad to come pick me up. I could still hear its tapping and rapping. A bloke came along. I asked him to step in the shop and pulled back the storeroom door blind. I said, "The tapping is coming from that door, right?" "Yes," he said. I said, "Look, there's no one there. I think I've locked the ghost in the passage. Will you stand with me while I let it out, please?" He said, "No!" Stuffed that and left. I didn't have the nerve to do it myself, so I just locked the front door, left the lights on, and didn't care. I wouldn't work there again for about a year until my dad was really stuck for help and literally begged me. Reluctantly, I agreed. Dreading the worst, I walked in and felt a really overwhelming feeling of welcoming. It was amazing, no worries at all. It was like the ghost was really pleased I came back. Very strange. I went to Spain on a holiday. We hired a 3-story house right opposite of the beach. It was built in the time of the Moors. Nice place. First thing my friends and myself noticed was the crucifixes above every door, a couple along the hallway. One of my friends commented on them, and I mentioned that maybe the owner was very religious, so I thought that probably explains them. After a couple of nights, I had a really vivid dream. I dreamt about a girl, long black hair with a dress, which was of white lace, quite frilly. She probably was somewhere between 14 and 16, I would guess. Pretty girl, but her eyes were very wide and scared looking, like she was terrified. The most horrific thing about her, though, was that her mouth had been sewn up. It It was like a cotton or string. It was some sort of twine which was flat. I don't know how I knew, but I just knew it was used to fix fishermen's nets. In my dream, she was being kept in a dark room with no windows like a cellar. I woke up with a start. It was morning. At breakfast, I mentioned my dream to my friends. We all agreed it was odd. My mate said, maybe it's a ghost. Maybe that explains the crucifixes. His girlfriend said she had some kind of nightmare, but she couldn't remember. It's apart from it had her scared and disturbed her. But she remembers someone was soothing her by gently stroking her hair. She said it was comforting, and she soon went to deeper sleep. Later, we went downstairs into the lobby. I called it that because if you walking off the street, you came in there. All there was a massive dark oak dining table with 10 or 12 chairs around it. The doors were 2 huge oak double doors with all iron work and studs through them. They looked like they belonged in a castle. We went out for the day. On our return in the early evening, we entered the lobby. My mate said, "That's strange." I questioned what. He said, "See that chair sticking out? Looks like someone's been sitting there." I noticed that every time we go out or come down in the morning. That same chair is sticking out. I keep tucking it in. I did it before we left. My first thought was someone must be coming in while we were out, my mate said. I bloody hope not. Money and passports are all upstairs. I'd be very angry if that was the case. Anyway, how do you explain the mornings? Someone would have to be coming in while we were asleep. We looked at the big inner bolts on the door and realized they couldn't be doing that at night because we always locked them. Later, we went out for a meal and made sure all the chairs were tucked in. However, sure enough, on our return, it was out again. We decided that maybe there's a ghost. All of us had noticed that on the stairs between the first and second floors, at the turn of the halfway up, it was chillingly cold. I was on the top 3rd floor and could never get out of my mind that if I looked down the stairwell, I would see someone walk past. It freaked me out a bit. Next day, my mate called me downstairs shouting, "Mark, come look at this." I went down to the lobby. He was by the door. "Have you looked in here?" he said. I hadn't. I looked in, and it was a pitch black room like a cellar. No windows. Really dark and horrible. I went in. It was a room from my dream for sure. I looked on the floor. I was expecting to see some sort of evidence, but it was too dark, and by the bit of light from the door, looked swept. That night, I dreamt of a girl again, except this time, there was her, 2 other women, and an old lady in black. I couldn't make out their faces, but the 2 women held her down, and the old lady sewed her mouth up in roughly formed stitches. Then it was just me and the girl, her with her terrified eyes and me feeling angry and wanting to help her. I woke with a start again, some anger carrying over from my dream, and somehow knowing it had been done to her because she had been talking to a boy. That was the last time I saw or dreamt of her. The next day was the last day. My other friend from Australia had gone down early as street market was on. She called us all down. We got there and she was at the bottom of the stairs. The chair was out about 5 foot from the table, but it was balancing on one leg. We were amazed. I went up and got my camera, came down and slowly approached the chair. I got a couple of feet from it and could see clearly it wasn't touching a thing. I took a couple of photos and the chair spun around once and fell on the floor on its side. My mind was blown, but I couldn't stop laughing. It was a fantastic thing to see. When I got back, I developed the photos. Sure enough, there was a chair balancing on one leg, plus some random shots I'd taken from different angles of the stairwell that showed a weird orb right on the right spot. I called the house owner. She didn't live in it. She just used it as a holiday let. I hadn't heard anything happen before. She begged me to send her the photos so she could see for herself. Reluctantly, I agreed, but only after I made her a promise to return them. I enclosed the SAE, but I never got them back. I called her again and she assured me she sent them, but nothing. Got it.